Good morning and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Wednesday, the 28th of July. I'm Joshua Barry, joined by Jonny McFarlane. Jonny, how are you today?
Good, yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Looking forward to another interesting day ahead at the Rangers Review.
Absolutely, likewise. Now we're going to start with what we learned last night, which is our opponents in the Champions League will play Malmo. They drew 2-2 in Finland with Helsinki. It certainly wasn't a straightforward tie by any means. We kind of expected they would be the opponents before the tie occurred. Not maybe a huge surprise they've gone through, but I mean it's going to be a tough tie, Jonny, isn't it?
I actually think it'll be fairly comfortable from what I've seen of Malmo, to be honest. I don't think it'll be easy by any stretch of the imagination. But I think the Rangers have got more than enough to go and take care of them. If Rangers play the way they did it against Real Madrid, I don't think Malmo will be able to live with them. They have got a couple of good players. The boy Anders Christensen, I thought from the highlights that I saw, played pretty well last night. And he's going to be one that we're going to have to keep a pretty close eye on. But in general, as I've said before on this format, Rangers have earned the right to feel confident in European ties against this kind of mid-tier European side, especially mid to lower tier European side. And they've taken care of so many better teams than Malmo under Steven Gerrard, Porto for one. So you just think to yourself, if they've got the mentality right, which I'm sure they will go in there and progress to the next stage where there might be a more difficult tie lying in wait. But certainly from the point of view of looking at this one, I can only see Rangers going through.
Yeah, and I guess the positive is as well that we have all but one really with Morelos, all but one of our players back. You look at the squad. You looked at the squad depth from the weekends, and you could conceivably put out a second 11 from our squad. And I don't think they necessarily win the game, but the depth even in that second 11 is really impressive. So I think that's what fans will take confidence in as well, as you've not got players like even Hollander. I think he came back. I'm not sure if he came back a little bit early, but he certainly didn't seem to have that long, did he? We didn't have that long a break, and against Real Madrid, he looked like he'd been back for ages, and he's just absolutely seamless. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think it will be maybe a little bit more hesitant, but I think if you look at the teams we've beaten and where we want to be, what we've said all along, if we want to be in the Champions League, you need to beat Malmo if you want to earn the right to be there. So, yes, we shall see. Also, the club have confirmed 23,000 fans will be granted admission for the opener against Livingston on Saturday, up from the original allocation of 17,000 season ticket holders to be entered into a ballot for the chance to head to the match. Good news, Jonny. Another step to full Ibrox, isn't it?
Yeah, terrific. And, I watched the two games, the Brighton and Real Madrid game on telly. Obviously, Derek was at the Brighton game and you were at the Real Madrid game. And you can tell me better, but certainly on the telly, it sounded like there was still a great atmosphere. So you add another few thousand on top of what was there, and I think you're starting to get more like the Ibrox, everyone knows. And it's just guaranteed that's going to be a significant improvement for the players. And in some ways, for the players, I think that steady adjustment of numbers might help them just get back into the notion of what it's like to play in front of fans. Because that will be an adjustment for every player, not just Rangers players, but probably more, I think, in Scotland for Rangers players because of the volume of fans and the demands of the fans. So there might be a positive in that sort of gradient that's happening, and just in terms of getting them back used to it, because you know that for a lot of the players that are there who were signed last year and the new ones that are signed this year, they've not played in front of Ibrox at its best, when it's full, and that's going to be a real experience for them.
Yeah, totally. And it'll be interesting to see kind of across football how if and why performances are affected by it if teams maybe aren't as patient with the ball or whatever. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the atmosphere against Real Madrid was excellent, especially at the start of the game. And the club also said in this press release they expect to have full capacity at Ibrox for a second leg match in the UEFA Champions League on August 10th, which is under 2 weeks today, I think 2 weeks today. So yeah. I mean, that's quite remarkable. That's that close, and fingers crossed that everything goes to plan with that. But fantastic to have, as you say, a little bit more fans in each week. Other news is we think Morelos is back in the country. Put a lovely photo up in a lovely kind of turquoise Rangers top, which I was a big fan of. We know he's been on a break after the Copa America. Be good to have him back, and I'm sure everyone at the club will be looking forward to having him, and hopefully we can get him back for. I don't know if he's quarantining, but it would be great if we could have him back for that double header Champions League qualification.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to be back. I think he is going to be quarantining after
second leg, maybe
Colombia, which is a red country. Okay. Yeah, but I mean, Alfredo Morelos, everyone knows the quality the guy has. You know, he's if you look at it, if you're a young Rangers fan growing up now in your early 20s, he is the Rangers striker. You know, guys like me who are a bit older, we can still remember players like Alan McCoist and Mark Hateley, Nika Jelavic, obviously people like Michael Moles. But the guy that has probably made the most impression on someone who's a bit younger would be Morelos, because he's been so good for such a sustained period. And you know, he's all personality. We know that he's that kind of guy. He's mercurial in terms of his temperament, but I think that's why a lot of people love offers Rangers, because you can just his heart on his sleeve. He's also got incredible talent, and you saw that against Antwerp. And I think it was you'll tell me, but I think it was 8 goal contributions out of the 9. So out of the 9 goals scored. So that shows you what he's capable of at the Europa League level. And he'll be a vital figure once he gets back and ready to play for Rangers. But I think the positive is Fashion Sakala was so impressive against Real Madrid. It really was a very, very, very good and exciting performance from him. So I think the kind of potential concerns that there might have been about Morelos not playing have been slightly tempered. And I know that Sakala is a different player to Morelos. You know, they've got different skill sets. Sakala is more electric, going to more play on the shoulder. But I think he showed enough against Madrid that he's got a great touch, that he can link the play. That I feel that probably you're going to say that he's going to be challenging Morelos anyway for that position. If the two of them are both fit, it's going to be probably horses for courses. Yeah. What does the opposition need for this game? I would be less concerned about that than I would have been probably this time last year. What about you? Do you feel the same way on that?
I think you're right about Sakala and the way that a lot of that. I was speaking to a few people on Twitter yesterday about how impressed we were with his involvement in when Rangers had spells of possession. And you know, it's funny that we learned that in a home game to Real Madrid, but not home game to Livingston. But I think you've seen the way that there was quite a few Brian Kent shot he set up. He came in really nicely to switch the play over a couple of times, and that was the only perhaps element of the game that from watching previous seasons you couldn't really tell how he'd be against deep defences, how he'd work when he wasn't afforded the space in behind. But you've seen that, which is really positive. You've seen the pace he possesses, and it was frightening. And Nacho had the most cynical body check you'll ever see in a friendly, which Willie Collum happily branded a yellow card for, because Sakala was going to get past the whole back line. So he looks really exciting. And also, just quickly, the interesting point from Jara's Rangers TV interview was the way he spoke about how much he wanted to learn, how eager he'd been since coming into the training ground. And you've seen that out of possession. You've seen the way he pressed as part of that front three, making sure he didn't leave big gaps on either side, shuffling across. And Gerrard was really happy again, he said, with the speed across the grass of them defensively. And I think it's only a good sign that Sakala's come in and has adapted so quickly to that. So, big plus points from me early on, and just really excited to see him play. And he also loves it. His interview, he was so happy. So he just really seems to appreciate it. And Gerrard said that. So, I think you're right. Less concerned than this time last year. would also selfishly like both of them in the squad as soon as possible, and would like to see them play together. Whether they can, we don't quite know. You know, Ruth's a really intelligent player positionally, and how he plays with another player, and how he retains Rangers' offensive depth if Morelos comes into the midfield. So it'll be interesting to see if Sakala and Morelos can both do that, and hopefully we'll find out soon. Finally, Johnny, we will talk about George Edmondson, who completed his move to Ipswich yesterday, undisclosed fee, pardon me. Leaves the club after 2 years. Seemed to really have breakthrough, and after me and Derek yesterday were talking about that performance against Braga. You'll remember the 1-0 game where he was just magnificent. Obviously had the COVID breach last season and never really re-established himself. He also scored against Bayern Leverkusen at the end of 2019-20 or 19-20. But represents a good deal for the club. We're bloated in that area, and I think everyone would wish him all the best as he makes his way back down south.
Yeah, no, 100%. George Edmondson is one of these players who has a lot of talent and has a lot of capability, but is not going to probably get the minutes at Rangers now, given how good the side is to fulfil that potential, and needs to go somewhere where he can learn by playing every week. The one thing I would say about George Edmondson is he's a terrific passer of the ball. And I think if a team's looking to progress the ball out, he's a guy that's quite comfortable on it, despite his size and his sort of stature, but has a real capability for pinging really accurate long balls. So he's someone with a skill set, I think, that can take him quite far in the game. But ultimately, Rangers have now got to a stage where these kind of project players, they need to explode at some point, or they're just not going to make it. And that's what every Rangers fan will want to see. And every Rangers fan will be delighted that it's got to that stage. But you just need to be international class now to get in that Rangers side. I mean, Leon Balogun's a Nigerian international. Helander, we know, is a Swedish international. Connor Goldson, obviously, has got a tough ass to get into the England setup, but we'd be an international for most countries. You would certainly get into Scotland's back line. So that's the kind of class that's now in there. And it's just a natural part of Rangers' progression as a club. That players come in, they stay a couple of years, and if they don't make that next step up, if they don't show that accelerated growth spurt that they need, then they'll get moved on. And hopefully Rangers have gone, and I'm sure they have, taken a profit out of the transfer deal, because Edmondson will be a much better player now than he was when they signed him. So it's just part. I think it's just part of the process, and it was obvious that the six centre halves was too many. So one of them at least had to go.
Yeah, you're right. We have actually a great piece on our site today about Scott Wright, who's a player who has come in and had quite an impact. And Blair Newman's done a really interesting and detailed breakdown of why he's adapted so well, perhaps better than other players in his position. And looking at how he has a lot, I think the raw material is the phrase he used, which is a really, really good description. So I'd encourage you to read that in the Rangers Review. We've also got a piece about safe standing at Ibrox, a kind of discussion around that, which is really interesting, and plenty more to come. So you can keep up to date with us across all our socials. We'll be back tomorrow morning again with another Rangers Review.